Since we've been together, y'all know what time it is, right? Loving you forever. From the front seat is upon you. Closing out our special anniversary month. 3 years, yo. We got the amazing, phenomenal, one of the most important people in my life, Jen Vanderputten, is with us today. Mother, future author, entrepreneur, activist. This woman, she's deep, yo. So I need everybody around the world, put your hands together for Tina. We're going to do this one for her today. I love this version. Folks from the front seat. 9 on the 9 TV. Shout out to everybody around the world. All right with me. We're going to start with Germany first. We love you over there. And we're going to jump back to North Carolina. Jen Vanderputten is in the house. South Carolina, where you at, Virginia? Philadelphia, what's up, Dr. Brookenstein? Georgia, Brooklyn, Michigan, Texas. Oh, we got something special for them, don't we, George? Britain, Ohio. What's up, Gucci? What's up, Patty? Love y'all. Go. That's right. With the guns down. Unite. Make sure my hometown. Staten Island, what up? I'm going to get a little hype right now. I love this version. Tina. New Jersey, you heard? Clap your hands. Detroit, Minneapolis, MPLS, the National, what's up, Jermaine? Canada, woo! Pennsylvania, DC, home of the Buccaneers Fall in Bethesda, September 30th, y'all be there. I'll be there. Virginia, I love y'all. Show me some love from Virginia. Canada, my Tupac. Show me some love. Georgia, what's up, Q? I know you on the east, the least, the west coast. New Orleans. Florida, what's up, Al? I love you, bro. What's up, New Orleans? What's up, Dallas? Let's go across the country. Nevada. Come from the front seat. Jen Vanderputten is with us, y'all. Clap your hands. Let's go around the world, y'all. We love it all. We love it all, y'all. A little shout out to Tina. We're going to continue to shout out people all around the world for the funk. Today, we got Jen Vanderputten on, and we're going to be talking about some serious things. It's Memorial Day weekend, so be mindful of all the beautiful men and women and their families who stand guard and has stood guard, and some have paid the ultimate sacrifice and paid the price with their lives to, do this thing we call the United States Army. So Marines and Air Force and reserves and, all the tech people that work behind the scenes and all the people, that it's just their everyday job. Maybe they don't have a dog in the fight, but they're actually doing it. I am totally against war and everything that it entails, including the big business that it is. But at the same time, I must absolutely, positively recognize all the brave men and women that have died for this country that I live in, that I love so much. So I just wanted to get that out the way. Any anniversaries or birthdays or transitions, and y'all just heard Tina. Of course, we lost Jim Brown, one of the greatest football players ever, in my opinion, last week as well. So shout out to Mr. Mark Lee, who is somewhere on the airways popping in with us in a little bit. But I wanted to shout out his mom. So Mrs. Lee, happy birthday. I know it's your birthday, or it's coming up. So I wanted to make sure I got that in. And for anybody else, anniversaries, birthdays, transitions, know that we love you here on Funk from the Front Seat. We're doing some different things this year. We're going to be working with some different people. But right now, without further ado, I'm going to take off my funk glasses and put on the real lenses so I can actually see you guys. Oh, by the way, I'm doing this whole beard thing. So I never did it before. It was on my bucket list. So I figured, now's the perfect time. Shout out to everybody around the world that continues to support this show. Elizabetta in Ireland, I love you. Tanny Soul Sister in Germany, thank you. DJ Cocolino in Ireland, thank you for playing the music. I appreciate you guys. All the funketeers around the world that continue to show up week after week, year after year to support the Nappy Head Funk Army and to support this show, Funk from the Front Seat. We love you guys dearly. Keith Jackson, of course, P-Funk Radio. We just text base yesterday, and he's doing well. So shout out to that, and also to a management company down here, Oak City Music Collective. I love you, boo. CB, you're always where you're supposed to be. And everybody else that's doing their thing out here, believe in yourself, stay strong, and do everything that you can because, now's the time to do it. Without further ado, Funk from the Front Seat is honored and proud to have back to close out our anniversary month, and it's been 3 years, one of my favorite people, Jen Vanderputten is in the house, in the front seat. What up, love? California love. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just reminding myself everything to be thankful for right now.
There you go.
My family is good. My mom was in the hospital, but she's back home. She's feeling better.
That's awesome.
Family's doing great,
That's awesome, man.
Every little thing I can take.
Hey, happy. Those little victories, they all add up to our major victories, man. I'm channeling my inner Tupac today. So if you hear me keep saying California love, I woke up with that on my mind. Don't ask me why. I did. I was having some kind of out-of-body experience with Tupac. So him and I bonded last night. Yeah, man. Yeah. It was deep. Because I sleep with crystals by my bed, so a lot of times I'm able to just cross over to those other dimensions, right? And man, Tupac and I was hanging out last night, California for sure. I wanted to ask you, and we got several topics we're going to get into, including, you're a budding author, and we're going to talk about that. But I wanted to get your thoughts on something that seems to be a serious thing in this country. Before we get to, your stuff, like why is it, do you think that we kind of always have this patriotic, good feeling around holidays and, Memorial Day and, come together, right? This bothers me about this country. It's hypocritical. Memorial Day and let's do this and gun ho and hey, the soldiers and I'm not knocking none of that. And then, right, by next Wednesday, we'll all be back at each other's throat.
Right.
What is it, the Matrix, what is it that we are doing to ourselves that we continue to not see love and light?
The one, I think the biggest thing that has always been a focus for me is that we are not face-to-face enough anymore. Even doing videos rather than text, like on social media, is better. But I still think, and I am as guilty of this as well, it is a sign of our times that we are behind a screen more than we are with each other. Yeah. And I think it's hard to hate someone you get to know. Because you find out that there's so much you have in common that you find your common humanity. You see humanity in someone when you sit and get to know them. And we were built for that. We were built to sit around a fire, around a table, sharing food, sharing stories, as I was talking about on the subject, sharing knowledge, sharing emotional experiences, trials and tribulations, joys, and heartaches and triumphs. And while we can do that in text on a tweet or something like that, there's something about sitting there with a human being and seeing, hearing their voice, seeing their body. And I think there's an aura too that we all have, that when you're sitting next to a person, there's something, it's not coming from voice or from your sight or from the words, but just an aura of emotion that you become, you entwine, your auras entwine in those moments when you're making connections. And I think we're not making those connections as much anymore. Employers are demanding more of our time. It's taking more time, more jobs to just make ends meet. That's keeping us apart. That's keeping us at each other's throats. And I think the people who hold those reins like it just fine that way. Um, and that we have to, we have the power to break out of that, and support each other so that we don't have to fail to pay our bills and things like that as a result of it as we shake up the system.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think it's the gathering around the table, around the fire, we used to be together when I was younger. There was, I mean, just people in and out of each other's houses. We were just with each other so much more than we are now.
yeah, yeah. You're right about that because, and we're hanging out there with the amazing Jen Vanderputten from the Front Seat, Not on the Grind TV. And thank you for joining us. I know it's Memorial Day weekend, so you guys can go back and catch this show again at your heart's content on YouTube. I think because we're going to transition to one of our subjects today, but I think because one of the reasons you mentioned about having to work harder, um, people nowadays, they don't stay in marriages that they don't, well, some do, but they don't stay in marriages that they don't really want to be in. Back in the day, whether people liked it or not, they stayed, and even though everybody knew things was funky, they still had that parental, family unit kind of thing going on. Mom,
Mm.
dad, whether they hate each other or not, a lot of people, you talk to a lot of people, from the generation before us, and they're like, yeah, we knew, but we stayed together for the kids. Stay together for the kids. Nowadays people are like, I ain't staying shit for nothing. I'm out because it's like and I think that stress of working hard and having to make ends meet. Things cost more. We want more. We need. It seems like our mental capacity says we need more to make ourselves happy, but the more
Hmm.
we get, the less happier we are. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, they said, I think there was a whole study done on that where they found like at a certain income point, at a certain, and I think they did a follow-up study, and they did it more complexly, whereas it doesn't necessarily have to be a particular number, just general feeling that your needs and a few of your wants are satisfied. Not necessarily all your wants, but a few, because every day you need to find a little joy. And everything after that is more stressful to attain than it brings happiness. And the people were happier just pursuing hobbies, hanging out with each other. There was a study done too that humans need to sit around and talk about stupid stuff too. Like
Yeah.
I talked about the important things we need to talk about, but they found that there's a huge mental health benefit to sitting around and just having debates about the right way to hang the toilet paper on the roll. People
Right.
will get
Yes.
in a debate about it, but
Which
they'll
is
be
a thing.
laughing and
Yeah. Which
having
is
a
a
good old
thing.
time.
Which is a
It's a
thing.
whole thing. It's because it's like, it's not an important thing. We don't have to worry that we come to the right answer. We're just shooting the breeze and enjoying laughing and just togetherness.
I think if it
So.
rolls out, it's just easier to tear off than the underneath. Right.
Oh, I'm an over person. In
Yeah.
fact,
Me too. Yeah.
we are justified in that the original patent, that was the way it was designed.
Yeah. Because it just makes more sense. It's common sense.
I'm gonna
Like, I
get
mean,
some hate letters now.
underneath, it's too much. It's extra work. At a time when
Yes,
you don't really need extra work.
right.
So right, but getting but getting back to something else you mentioned before, um, and we're hanging out with Jen Vanderput, man. She's amazing, and we got some serious stories we're gonna get into. Let's transition into um, storytelling and how you see it being a crucial part of past, day to day, and going forward, our society. Give us your thoughts
Uh,
on the overview.
Yeah, actually, so we're reading less. And for everybody, I include like if you're listening to audiobooks, that's still reading. It
Yeah,
actually because you're getting some other perspective, a new perspective, a new uh journey. You're going on a journey with someone, or just if it's nonfiction, you're learning something, whatever it is. But stories, as far as fiction goes, is where we can immerse ourselves into someone else's perspective and learn from that, learn a different way of looking at the world, and someone else's experiences, and it makes us better, more rounded human beings. We are reading less stories. um and I think that's another part of the disconnect is, growing up, I remember, oh my gosh, how many of us always had like, how many of us as kids had the flashlight in the book that we just couldn't stop reading it. So we waited till our parents went to bed and we got the flashlight out, only to find out when we got older that our parents knew we were doing that. We were not as smooth as we thought we were.
yeah,
But they were like, you're reading and that's good for you. So we're going to let you get away with that thing. That's
yeah.
an that's one of those little things that parents did. But
I think
yeah.
it's funny you say that because I hated book reports. So,
Hmm.
but the way I used to get around it, which my teachers knew, they would let me either do my book report on either sports or music. So they realize,
Oh.
okay, this person may not be interested in that, but if they're
Hmm.
interested in this, they're still going to read. Some of the earliest books I read, the Kurt Flood, he was the first one to go for free agency. Now all the guys that are making billions now got to thank the guy from the Detroit Tigers, Kurt Flood, who wanted to leave and say, hey, you can't hold me hostage. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, he's
Yep.
the original guy, Kurt Flood. Y'all remember that name? Um,
Hmm.
and then, I would always read. I read the book on Jim Brown, his story. I read books on Beethoven, Bach. Back then, they had did there was a Louis Armstrong was still alive, but they had did a book on him, and I remember reading the book, and it was a little over my head because I wasn't a jazz guy, but it gave me incredible insight into what a rough life he had. He was born in a house of ill repute and shuffled around on New Orleans and still became this amazing legend, and reading. I have a book now that I'm reading called One Love, The Rasta Heart, and I got it from over here at shout out to my man Robert Roskin, who's the author. He got about 10 or 12 books out, maybe even more, maybe
Wow.
20, at the Oasis Cafe in Carborough. So
Oh,
if you guys are ever there,
I need to go.
Google or go to the Oasis Cafe in Carborough. Tell Robert Roskin that Zach sent you. See
Will
what I'm
do.
saying? So, yeah, when we tell stories now, we kind of uh, are looking for some type of answer, and sometimes stories don't really have an answer. They're just
Hmm.
a story. This is what happened.
Hmm.
So we were talking earlier during the week, touching base, um, and let's go back to the first person who ever said, "You know what? This charcoal from this fire, I can now paint on this cave wall with." Right?
Hmm.
And you had mentioned something that was really cool, and you said that was the first graphic design and the first
First graphic
novel.
novel.
Yeah, so go ahead,
The
kick that.
original graphic novel,
Yeah,
storytelling through images. Uh-huh.
yeah. I think
Yep.
that's why, me personally, I have all of these symbols because I
Yeah.
studied Egyptology. A lot of people don't know that. I was very much growing up in my 20s. I got my hands on every piece of literature that I could get. And I studied the Quran because I was always interested in their knowledge of science and a knowledge of technology that was in a spiritual book, right? And I don't knock any spiritual book. I don't read as many as I can. I'm still trying to get through the Bharata from India. I'm still working my way through that. A lot of the translations you find out aren't really what it is. So when you read these books and they're translated, always got to remember you got to find the right translation, and it has to be realistic and true. And do some research. Take the time, understand the words, look them up. But I read all these
Hmm.
books because um, I knew that those cave paintings, indigenous people here in this country and around the world, that was their cell
Hmm.
phone. Your
Yep.
thoughts on that?
Yeah. That, and we talked about the oral tradition. And the amazing thing is, every single culture around the world that has ever existed, exists now, can trace their roots back to a time when it was cave paintings and oral tradition. And that is how everything was passed down. All knowledge, stories, mythologies, entertainment, everything was done in these fashions. The cave paintings probably were, the oral history was probably coming with it. So I can imagine, them standing there and almost like we do our PowerPoint presentations now, right?
Yes.
He's saying, and then this, and then, and then a whole story and an epic. I can just hear the epic tales. And then, from this over here with this, the story, and then over here we go over this wall and we talk about, here's what we gather when we have a cut, we gather this and we put it on the cut, and that will prevent us from becoming sick, the cut from becoming swollen and inflamed, and this is how we hunt, and this is how we do it well, so we are safe and we get enough to eat, and this is how we live our life. This is our life, our culture, our mythologies, and I can just see it all coming together. You see it every single way a human being can find to tell stories. We have done it. There's peoples who do it through dance, song, um, you know, uh, everything through art, whether it be sculpture or, and what is art is like, you can find art in anything. Stones, sand, air. I've seen people do it with air and smoke and things like that.
Yes.
Everything. Humans
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
always find a way to express
Yeah. Yeah.
and to communicate
Yeah.
through
I
these
think
forms.
too, do you think whoever was doing that, they said, listen, we don't know how long this is going to last, but somewhere in their mind's eye, they said, we got to document some of this stuff because this is some important stuff. UFOs, we got dinosaurs, we're people here, like you said, this is how we hunt, this is
Hmm.
how we have to do this. And
Right.
all around the world, this was happening. So it's not a coincidence that everything was always about up, looking up when it
Hmm.
came to the sky. Of course, what was happening on Earth was cool, but everything was about up, constellations. What is this? What is
Yes.
that? And then they were able to actually do this stuff and be very, very accurate, over thousands and thousands of years. So I
Hmm.
wonder if um, now we went full circle because back then with hieroglyphics and things like that, and now what do we use it? Emojis. To me, I call them hieroglyphics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's easier. I go back to
Yeah.
one of my favorite shows, The Office, right? And Kevin on there, I'm about to say, he says, "Why say lot word when few word do trick?" You know what I'm saying? I love that quote. I love it. So when we see emojis and this and that,
Yeah.
we just said, hey, we're gonna not write anything anymore. We're going back to emojis, right? So
Hmm.
it's funny how the more things change, the more things stay the same. You know,
Hmm.
um, when you are thinking about writing a story for yourself and your subject matter comes up, right?
Hmm.
Where are you drawing your inspiration from? Where are you getting it from?
You know, Mine comes very much from the subconscious, from just intuition. Things just pop into my head, and I just start writing them down. And in fact, when these stories and characters and worlds pop into my head, I find that I have to write them down. They will keep bothering me until I start writing them down, start telling their story. So, like you were talking about channeling earlier, that's what I feel like, especially when I'm really in the zone. I often feel like the words aren't actually coming from me. They're coming from some other source. Um, and I'm just a conduit for it. I'm just writing it. It's weird how, it's when I'm really in the zone. Now there's times that I'm writing and I'm doing the act and I'm not feeling like I'm quite in that zone. And I don't it's okay. It's good enough. But the best stuff I've ever done is the stuff when I feel like I'm just channeling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think being creative as you are, as I am, whatever, and so many people I know are creative. I think using that third eye and staying wise on that, and being able to channel and cross over into another dimension and bring stories back, and get into parallel universes, and travel through time and space, because it's really all mental. It's just a mental thing, and we do have the
Hmm.
capability of doing that if we just use our third eye and use most of our 1/10 of the mind power we actually use, or 1/10 of whatever it is. And sometimes I believe now we got YouTube, we got video, we're documenting it, right? And like
Hmm.
maybe 2,000-3,000 years from now, when somebody pulls all this stuff up, they're gonna look back and be like how we looked at the cave people. Like, oh, look at
Look
this
at us.
archaic. This is what they were doing in 2023. Look how archaic this is. They'll see me and you in
Right.
2D. You know what I'm saying? Look what they were
And they'll be
doing.
like, "Oh man, don't they like know how to just connect their minds now?" You
Exactly,
know?
exactly. Right.
It's like,
Can't they vote the mind meld on this thing here? Why are they talking? The power of verbal
right?
speech
It's like,
will be gone.
oh, they're just using voices. How quaint.
Right. And you know what? They might even say, hey, they were doing illegal stuff because we're not allowed to talk. The government
Yeah,
says, no,
right?
you can't, right? You can't say this, you can't say that. The power of free
Mm,
speech is gone. They were
yeah.
allowed to
Oh my
do that?
gosh. Yeah. Yeah,
True.
it's getting ugly out there with just being like, but like I said, it's like, have you ever like noticed that you can have really deep, great conversations when you're sitting with someone, and even if you're talking about difficult subjects, you can do it. But if you're doing it over the internet, it will devolve into a fight. People will block each other and rather not deal with each other. But those same two people could have started that same conversation if they were sitting across the table, would have probably found some common ground and would have gained, even if they didn't change their minds, would have gained a little perspective. I've used this term a lot. You can sometimes you're not there to try and change someone's mind. You're there to plant some seeds.
That's right.
And then you go. And you were merely there to plant seeds, and those seeds do germinate. And years later, that person is changed, even though in that encounter you never changed their mind. But you
Yeah.
planted a seed, you started something germinating, and it will.
That's why when I first met you and you commented on something that we were talking about, I
Mhm.
knew then I had to get you on the show because we
Well,
had
thank
the
you.
same mindset,
Hmm.
and you said something very interesting on the subject we were talking about that day. You said, hey, do you mind? And you were so polite and kind. I was like, you got your own spot here. You always got a spot
Aw.
here. I said, because what you have to say is very important to me. And I know um that you're always going to be successful no matter what you do because your
Thank you.
mindset is in the right place. You got a caring heart. I see how you are. And I know what you do behind the scenes with your family, this and that, and the struggles, so I get it. And I think, what's up, Kev? What's up, Nomia? How you guys doing? Y'all checking in.
Hey
Thank you.
guys.
Appreciate you guys, man. Miss you guys. Y'all stay safe. I think that because of your upbringing and your background, you're well rounded. So whenever you drop these books, do you have a title yet?
I don't. I am so many different stories are coming to me, and I'm getting a little bit of work done on each one. At some point, I decided I felt like I needed to be in a rush, especially since I started when I was older. And then more and more messages started coming across my path that there's no such thing as being too old when you start anything. Not everyone hears their calling when they're young.
Amen.
And things happen when you're ready for them. So at 20, I probably wasn't ready to do this. And that's when, hey, Kevin, peace. um, and I think I had to come to realization that I have to just let the stories come out, have it write on them as they tell me, channel that, tap into that. And it'll come forth when it comes forth.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of different ones. One is called Alorian Skies. Another one, I do have some titles, and that one's like a big world. That'll probably be like a 5 to 7 book thing when
Right,
it's
right, right,
done.
right,
Yeah,
right.
and that's like a big whole like fantasy series, giant birds, and people and I wanted to make a big sprawling. I wanted to make a big world and, with all the diversity and all the beauty like we see in our world, and our characters are going to be going, there's going to be characters from all around that world coming together and then going all around that world. So it's going to be like fun ride, but also it will touch on important things like violence and things like that, and how that can get away from us and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than, yeah, because it's going to touch on things like how do we fight violence, how does each person react to violence and stuff like that, and how that expands to a larger scale. But
yeah.
I've got that, and I've got some goofy stuff too. One that's called Pithy Noises, which is it's got I'll just tell you, there's aliens involved somehow, but they're not.
Loving that.
Yeah, there's like, but it's like there's two different sets of aliens, and it's just absolutely, I don't know if you ever read any, what is it, now I'm gonna blank on it, and he's one of my favorite authors, so that's really embarrassing. The Hitchhiker's Guide, Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Um, it's just this funny romp through space, and it's silly, and don't try to see any logical sense. It's not like hard science fiction. It's like more to just lambast ourselves as humans, and to just be fun to read. That's basically
Yeah,
what Pithy Noises is. But there's going to
yeah,
be a big mouth Billy Bass involved,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's gonna have one of the aliens is going to be inhabiting a big mouth Billy Bass and
Yo, that's
helping
yo.
our heroes.
You know what? It always reminds me of that Sopranos episode where they had, I know, yo, you know what I'm talking about. And he's thinking, he's like, by the way, Tony, I'm the one that's the rat.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you know what I'm talking about. Take me to the river, drop me in
It's
the
like
water.
it's a
Yo,
whole exactly.
don't
It's a
ask me.
whole book full of goofiness like
The
that.
senseless things that I remember that can never get me
Right.
paid. Believe me, if there was
Yeah.
a well for that, I'd be knee deep in water, man. Because
I
I'm
don't know. You
telling you.
need to go on one of these trivia shows or
Oh
something.
yeah, for
That
sure.
you'd probably kill on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could definitely
Yeah.
could. We're
Yeah.
hanging out today. It's a nice, easy, mellow day, and we want you guys to be mindful. Memorial Day is not necessarily this rah-rah thing. We think about a veteran, so anybody that have family members who served, you have served. Just be mindful that, yes, have fun, whatever you're going to do. First day of summer, pools, whatever. But like Jennifer so eloquently just put it, we need to figure out a way in our time right here to help curtail some of the thought processes. And Kevin was just talking about this a couple of weeks ago, because it's not the weapons, it's not this, it's not that. It's the thought process. Why do we feel the way we do and we can't talk problems out? Why do we feel we got to go to the strap or the iron or the pipe or whatever it is? Those are the things we need to look into. And I just want to bring this up because this is true. Throughout history, there's always been violence. If you read history, it's just that now we're getting it in real time, So we just be mindful that we are in no more of a violent, in my opinion, no more of a violent place than, say, back in the Romans or back in the Egyptian days or back in, when things were popping off, in Europe, or look at World War II, World War I. It's always been something on this planet that we have to kind of go at each other for power, greed, money, lust. Religious wars have been fought, over whose God is right and whose God is wrong. And I got to say, me personally, I believe, but it can only be like one. I mean, why? Because it was set up that way. And then, of course, everything got perverted by man. But it was basically set up that way because there's only one power, the one. There's only one. And that's just what it is. I mean, that's just my opinion. When you look at the world today, And how can we get back to being more of a tribal society, in your opinion? How can you do that through your writings? How can I do that through my shows and my music? What can we do?
I think your shows, I think doing with video, right, rather than just like a voice podcast, I think you bring in that face to face. Um, there's something about seeing another human being's face. You make connection instantly. I think we all have to admit that we need to just, for those of us who have not wisely gotten off of a lot of social media, like the kinds like Twitter and Facebook, it's like they can be tools, like you use it as a tool to say, hey, here comes the show. Hey, we're going to be over here. We're going to use it as tools to gather your community together. Um, but don't use it as a tool to try to have those encounters with people that you should be, those gatherings. And I shouldn't even say encounters. I should say we should be gathering
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
Yeah, I just, it's going to be hard because, a lot of kids were raised on that. We got kids who were born in COVID lockdown who don't know anything but sitting in a building, viewing people through devices. And it's not their fault. Nobody's really at fault. We're all just sort of going with the way times are changing. We are adapting to our times. But I think we have to take, and I don't think we necessarily have to completely get rid of all these things. I think we just have to make sure we're getting face to face time and getting together with people who are from very different walks of life so that we can learn those perspectives and they can learn from ours because our walk of life is different all the way around. That's,
yeah.
and writing can do that too. I'm actually a big fan of the audiobook as the
Me
future
too.
because people don't have time necessarily. There's also people who have vision issues who can't read and they used to do braille, but I think audiobooks bring a richness because
They
you've got that
do.
human voice.
They do.
And any one of us could just, you can write a story, a book, record it yourself and put it out there. Hey, it may not be the pro setup like, like the big guys have, but that's going to reach somebody who needed to hear that in that moment. I know someone, she is Muslim and she's a hijabi Muslim, and she had so much trouble finding stories that she wanted to see. So, and she tried writing stories, she tried querying it around to major publishing houses. She wasn't having much luck. She just decided to go independent, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm boosting her as much as I can. I can't tell you, like, there's people who find her, who find that book, and it's like, they're like, this is my favorite book now. You don't have to get a rubber stamp of approval from the big corporations. Now you can put it up on a website. You can do a whole novel on a website if you feel
Amen.
like
Amen.
this is what we should be using our technology for. Put your story out there. If you write, you are a writer. I don't care if you've published anything yet. If you write, you are a writer. Think of yourself that way. Get your story out there. If you have a story burning to come out, don't worry. If you're not the best at grammar, people like will offer to help you out too for free because there's, you will find community. People are like, hey, I love what you're doing. I love the story you're telling. If you want any help, let me know, and they'll help you with the, editing. There's whole groups, local groups you can sit in. There's Facebook groups. You can be like, hey, can you guys help me clean this up, the grammar and stuff? And then they'll do it for free because it's a
Yeah,
community.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
so important now to get those stories out there. They'll find who they need to find. I believe that. I think they find who they need to find.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because technology now, although it has its downside, also has some upside. The upside, you
Mm-hmm.
and I can reach people in Japan right now, and we can talk
Mm-hmm.
to them, or Germany, or wherever. We can reach people in
Ukraine.
California. They're just getting up now. It's early
Yep.
over there, so we can talk to each other right here and don't have to be in the same spot. And we can spread whatever message we choose to spread. Whether,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're spreading peace, love, and harmony, of course, but some choose to spread other things, and that's on them. But I don't follow that stuff. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I do embrace technology. The music
Mm-hmm.
business, sometimes you're forced to embrace change, because
Yeah.
things change in the studio. And I'm no studio producer or tech. I just kind of do what I do. I have people do that for me, like Kev, like Mo, like Jake
Mm-hmm.
Winslow. But I'm in there I know what's going on. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, now, because of we gotten away from the tribe,
Yeah.
we have to figure out a way to get back to it. And I'll tell you something that
Mm-hmm.
I did some research on. Um, During the depression days, times were really, really hard. Of course, you had 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 people living in shanties, one room places, this and that. Everybody was trying to
Mm-hmm.
make it. But when we was kind of coming out of that, families started buying homes. And one thing that was pretty much found in about maybe, I don't know, 7 out of 10 homes was a piano. Every
Mm-hmm.
home had a piano, and somebody in the family, whether they lived in that house or not, knew how to play that piano.
Mm-hmm.
So when people wanted to have parties, radio, there was really no TV. They would go to somebody's house. Somebody would sit down. There's stories about Fats Domino bringing
Mm-hmm.
2 half-gallon jugs of liquor, keeping it by him, and they would do red parties. Yeah, and he would drink all night and play. These how
Mm-hmm.
these guys were developing, and these ladies were developing their things, right? And that was the tribe. That was the
Yeah.
storytelling. People could sit
Yep.
down and they could play and enjoy and give
Mm-hmm.
love unconditionally and talk about what they wanted to manifest and talk
Mm-hmm.
about church activities, community activities. Um,
Mm-hmm.
every cop that walked the beat knew just about everybody on the block. So this was the tribe. This was the
Mm-hmm.
story. I remember sitting sometimes talking to police officers, and we just talking about hot dogs, talking about the Knicks, just telling stories. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we as a society need to embrace technology, use it for what the tool, like you said,
Exactly.
and then figure out how we can get back to like loving each other without all of the nonverbal stuff. Because
Mm-hmm.
eventually, Mother Nature, if you don't talk long enough, she'll take your voice away. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Over thousands of
Mm-hmm.
years, if these kids don't start talking, they're going to be mute. It's already
Yep.
starting to happen. You notice how long their arms are getting now because they got to keep pulling up their pants? You know what I'm saying? You see, I'm serious. Look at these kids. Their arms, they can be 5 foot, but they got like the arms of a 6 foot person because pulling up their pants. I'm telling you, it's affecting the way they walk. Because you're not supposed to. This is not a natural gait. So I'm serious. I'm telling the truth.
Oh.
And y'all out there watching know I'm telling the truth. How can this be a natural gait going from side to side when human beings are made to design? Your body's designed to do that. It's not designed to do that. So I'm seeing it. I'm watching the evolution of what we're doing to ourselves. Norma Vasquez Scales, hi, you. Thank you for popping in. Thank you, Kev. You guys are always, man, amazing. Nomia, I hope you had a great trip. You know why I'm laughing too. No, I ain't gonna say that.
You need to have her on again. She's
She's gonna come on.
yeah.
She's been on before. She's coming back on because I got to hear about this trip.
Yeah.
And I know right now she's cracking up because I ain't gonna say nothing.
Right?
Don't you worry, Nomia. You'll stay for me.
She's telling us to stop.
See,
but I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You just touched on something that touches my heart very deeply. And that is the getting together, so that whole, I have Celtic roots. And you know how sometimes the roots of your ancestors just come back to you, whether or not it skipped generations? Because, England invaded Ireland and Scotland. First thing they did is said, what every invader and colonizer does, tries to stop you from speaking your language, stop you from expressing your culture, and all that stuff. Well, over the years, they've been, it was almost lost. Many of the Irish and Scottish languages are almost completely lost. but they've started speaking them again. And you've got the Duolingo now. So people are like, and all these other programs, and people are going on YouTube and teaching and recording that language so it can't be lost. And I think we can reclaim a lot and learn a lot from each other's ancestry too that way. You know, because those elders, those precious elders, are being recorded on YouTube and you can watch them and learn.
Yeah.
But when I was young, actually living here in North Carolina for a short period of time, working as doing an internship basically. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm
Oh,
just saying hi
okay.
to sign language
Gotcha.
people.
Oh, you're doing. I was like, I was looking somewhere else, and I'm like, oh, is he telling me to shut up?
No.
Like,
H-I, hi.
Ape, yep, I got it now because now that I'm paying attention. But they had that notion too. That goes deep, deep and far back in their culture, and gathering together the public house, right? There was always a place, a building where everybody would gather, often in the evenings to have meals, drinks,
Yes,
and music. And
yes.
so there's a deep Celtic tradition there, and it's something that always sang to me. And you know, like I said, it's my ancestors are whispering in my ear with this stuff because you know, when I was in my 20s here in North Carolina, there was a place called the Fox and the Hound. It's gone now. And they had a night every week, Thursdays, where they had these guys coming in with the fiddle, you know, and everything else. And we sang all the old songs, new songs done in the old style, and we'd be there for hours till they kicked us out when they closed. Drinking and eating and doing exactly what you said, manifesting, and all were welcome. Like we had people who never heard an Irish song in their life. They'd come in thinking they're just coming in for dinner. Hey, what's going on over there? We're like, come on, man, you know, come on. Well, just pretend like you know the words. It's all right. We're all half drunk anyway.
Right.
And it's
Yeah,
like it was such a good community building thing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're right, the music, like music and stories and all these art forms, and we're getting away more and more from art, right? Because we're acting like math is more important than art, and the two are equal. You know,
yeah.
all things we
Exactly.
learn are equal.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. You know, because I remember being a kid, and some of the very things that I still talk about today was stories that I heard from relatives, parents, you know, family, friends, people in the block, in the neighborhood.
Hmm.
And those stories were so powerful that they actually helped guide me through some life things. And you know, when you hear
Right.
people talk about what they went through, you know, listening to my father and you know my mother when she was alive, and my uncles and aunts talk about you know the 1910s and the 20s, and you know
Hmm.
people down south in my family like seeing the car for the first time freaked them out, you know. But
Yep.
yeah, for real, like, hey, what's this thing coming down the dirt road? You know what I'm saying? They had
It would
heard
be
about
frightening the first
automobiles.
time.
Yeah, they had heard
Yeah.
about it, but they had actually never really seen one,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and when they tell these stories, there's always such an enthusiasm and, like you said, the key word, ancestral heritage, because everybody comes from some kind of tribe. I don't care where you at in this world, you coming from
Hmm.
something like that, right? And I think we need to figure out a way to get our young people. And I noticed this, and this is no knock on young people. I validate all my young people. I love them. I got two daughters. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Maya. 119, 115, right? We just need to get them to understand there was more stuff happening in the world pre cell phone,
Hmm.
pre app. You know what I'm saying? Because this,
Hmm.
like you said, they're born into this. This is all they know, you know. But we
Hmm.
have to figure out a way to let them know, listen, in order to know where you're going and recognize who you are, you got to understand where you came from. Because if
Hmm.
you do not, you will slowly become this insensitive, and I say that with all
Hmm.
due respect, insensitive, um, walking around drone type of sheep
Hmm.
that we see now, because you're not
Hmm.
you're not using your third eye. Remember, 1% own 99% of the wealth. So why won't the
Hmm.
99%, if we just uprise, you know, imagine this.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, one of the books that I'm listening to right now, in addition to the one I'm reading, Rasta Heart, One Love, I'm actually listening to a book on tape, Billy Carson. And for you guys that don't know who Billy Carson is, I suggest you Google his brother. He's a deep brother, deep thinker, and he has a lot of material out there. His name is Billy Carson. And one of the things that he mentioned was that now in society, we're looking at life through a prism, a 28-second prism. No matter what you do, if you can't capture somebody's attention within a minute and 28 seconds, people are on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we got to slow down the process. We need people to embrace.
Mm-hmm.
You see people at a basketball game, they're literally at the Lakers game or the Knicks, and they got their cell phone taping the game. But you're right there.
You're there.
See, it's and society got us.
People are doing that too, or they're sitting there on their phone, telling their friends about it and not watching.
No, you're right there. You're missing the whole experience.
Exactly.
What's the point? You're gonna pay $5,000 to see Beyonce just to videotape her when she's on a video? Video on the screen at the concert. She's right there. You know what I'm saying? We grew up in the day. You went to concerts. You seen the show. They didn't really have like Earth, Wind, and Fire on the screen. They do that now, or P-Funk on now. But back then, you saw them. They was there. They had their stuff, but you were looking at them the whole time. And you still remembered. You retained it. You could go back to your neighborhood and recite every little thing that happened at that concert, including what was going on around you. Self-awareness. The more we get deep into stuff, I think we lose perspective on self-awareness.
Definitely, that, like you said, that taps into the empathy. And again, that comes from, like you said, connections. We have to make connections.
Yeah.
And, one of the best ways to do that is to sit with people. And if we start like do it over a video thing like this, I think works really well. It's a great place to start, gets people together. Then naturally what should happen is then we start getting together in the same rooms. And that's where our power is our togetherness. And, fighting, like you said, that 1% holding the reins to everything and keeping everybody on, an increasingly speeding up, increasingly accelerating treadmill instead of connecting with each other and becoming, a more powerful.
And see, Bob Marley, one of the greatest prophets and warriors and spiritual people ever, he had songs about all this stuff. He got a song called Rat Race. Oh, what the rat race. This is the rat race. And we're in it. And an abundance of water, a fool is thirsty. Now, that's a profound statement. You're in an abundance of water, but a fool is thirsty. And he's talking about the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? You have all this knowledge, but you're still thirsty because you don't even see it. But Billy Carson, back to what I was saying before, and we're hanging out with Jen Vanderput, he said that the way it went down with this whole COVID thing, and I'm not a conspiracy theory that deep in it, but I do go down the rabbit hole. They kind of set it up to where we were isolated, couldn't talk, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, couldn't do that, couldn't do that. Just so they could probably see how we was going to react, like lab rats or something, right? And they shut us down. Whether we had to shut down or not is not what I'm saying. Of course we did. But they figured out a way to shut us down. And then we bounced back from it. Can you imagine if we did that on our own, 99%? Imagine all of us, me, you, everybody in the country say, you know what? We ain't taking this no more. We ain't voting for nobody no more. We ain't giving y'all no more campaign funds no more. We're not coming to your rallies no more. Guess what, America? We're shutting it down. The 1% would freak out. Guaranteed they would freak out. Yeah. They would be like, because now they got to do everything.
None of the companies or businesses or anything runs without that 99%.
That's right.
And one thing I really do like the young people are doing right now, and you see reports of it on Reddit and TikTok, and they're like, my boss is being like they've always been, like there's always been those bosses, right? Not every boss, but there's always those bosses out there, and they're unreasonable, they're horrible, they're just inhuman. They treat you like you are not even a human being, right? And the kids are just going, I'm going to go somewhere else then.
I quit.
They're walking with their feet. When I was bullied, what is George DeFunco Vinci.
Oh, the
All
Funky
right.
Vinci there, my man, my
Yeah,
guy.
hey there.
George.
He it's sorry, I got sidetracked there,
No, no,
but
no, no. George is deep. I'm gonna
yeah,
tell you something
I want to
about
say
George in
hi
a
to
minute. We get
everybody.
ready to do
I
something.
want
Here, I'll tell you. But go
I
ahead.
want everybody to feel seen, at least
Hey,
that I can see here on the
hey, you
thing.
thank
But
you, because Mark, my
yeah.
producer's on vacation today.
Oh, all right.
God forbid he takes a day off. No, I
But
love Mark.
I had a workplace bully years and years and years ago, and it was making my life miserable. And people, sort of the culture here in America is you have to find a way to make it work. You're gonna just have to put up with it. What are you gonna do? You gotta make it work. You gotta work with them. And I'm like, no, I could walk out that door right now. And
That's
at
right.
one point, I was talking to my boss's boss because I was telling her, I'm like, he's picking on me now, but when I leave, he'll pick the next person because that's what bullies do. They pick the next person, then the next person, then the next person. I said, you're gonna lose a lot of people if you don't do something about this. And she said, Jen, you have to work with them. I said, no, I don't. In fact, the laws in this state and many states say I can get up right now. And even though I signed a piece of paper with you that says I have to give 2 weeks notice, it's not enforceable by law. I can get up and I can walk out right now. And I said that to her face. And she didn't even rest. She's like, well, and then she didn't know what to say. And, I ended up going to a different group because on that day I was telling her, I'm looking for a new job. I'm going to look outside. I'm going to look inside. I don't care what you do about that. You could decide to fire me today in retaliation. I'm going to be fine, but I actually was a key person. Most of us are actually the workers, are the key people who have all the knowledge. They're the ones who make things run.
That's right.
And knowing our value. And I believe
Amen.
100% after going through that and walking with your feet, voting with your feet, go where you are properly appreciated, properly compensated, where you're treated like a human being. The more we do that, they're going to have to change their policies. They're going to have to kick out the bad managers.
I think it's coming, and like you said, these young kids are like, you know what? They got words for it. And I can't say the bad words on the air, but it's like F it Friday and, move out Monday. They got all these little terminologies that they use, right? And I think I believe in it. I can honestly tell people, listen, every job that I ever liked, I gave them 2 weeks notice. Every job that I hated, I quit that day. Yep. And this is just me, because I'm crazy like that. I was like, no, I'm out.
Yeah, if you're working somewhere where there's high turnover that there shouldn't be, then if you're in the leadership position, if you're the employer, manager, don't look at the people who are leaving. Yeah. And I know managers who do that. They're like, and I know people who are managers, and, I'm trying to slowly help them come to their awareness, because they'll be like, oh, they do that. Nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody wants to work hard anymore. I'm like, no, they probably just found a better job somewhere else. Or maybe they were unhappy about how they're treated. Maybe they were unhappy about the compensation. Maybe they were unhappy about the hours, the working conditions, whatever. But they went out and they found something better, or they just couldn't take it anymore.
And you know what? And this goes back to the corporate greed in this country, because if corporate America wasn't so damn greedy, they would be able to keep employees. If you just pay people, because a lot of times it literally comes down to, okay, I may hate that job over there, but I hate this one more because I'm putting up with way too much shit and you ain't paying me. At least if I go over there, I'm going to have to put up with the same thing, but I'm going to get enough for my family, because it really comes down to taking care of your loved ones and your family. That's why we all got to be out here on the ground and take care of ourselves, We're hanging out with Jen Vander Putten today. We got some subjects to get back into. Of course, I want to bring attention to Nine on the Grind TV, Funk from the Front Seat. My producer, Mr. Mark Lee, is taking a much-needed day with his mother. Happy birthday, Mrs. Lee. If you had any transitions or any birthdays or anniversaries, know that we care about you. We love you. Of course, Tina Turner was the big one that kind of transitioned out,
Hmm.
and we're going to talk about her on the other side. But right now, I want to listen to my favorite guy, Keith Jackson, and he's going to tell me a little something. So come on in, Keith.
Hey, this is Keith Jackson with P-Funk Radio, inviting you to check out my brother Zach Robinson with Funk from the Front Seat. Saturdays, 12 noon on the East Coast and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. It all happens on 9 on the Grind TV and also on YouTube. Great guest, great conversation each and every Saturday. That's Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson on 9 on the Grind TV and YouTube. Check him out.
Do a drop for me when you have time, okay? I really would.
Hey there, it's Chrissy Key Rollins here. Just wanting to give a shout out and say congratulations to my brother, Zach Robinson, who's been going 2 years strong, bringing you the funk from the front seat each and every week. Go check him out on 9 on the Grind TV and on YouTube, where each week he has amazing guests, powerful conversations, and of course, brings the funk like no other. Keep bringing the funk, my man, and congratulations again for hitting your 2-year mark. That's Funk from the Front Seat. Catch it live at 12 p.m. noon East Coast time, or the replays over on YouTube. And stay funky, my friends. Hey, it's Chrissy Key Rollins here with Holistic Restoration. Hey, it's Chrissy Key Rollins here with Holistic Restoration, inviting you to check out Zach Robinson with Funk in the Front Seat. He drops new episodes every Saturday at noon on the East Coast time, and replays are posted for whenever you miss a live stream. You can find him on 9 on the Grind TV and also on YouTube, and get ready for the funk because he brings it every week, along with hot topics, amazing guests, and great conversations. Again, that's Zach Robinson with Funk from the Front Seat on 9 on the Grind TV and YouTube. Go check them out.
This is Joe Keys of Joe Keys and the Late Bloomer Band. Just did a show with my man Zach. Number 9. That's right. Number 9's got it going on. Check out Funk from the Front Seat. Zach Robinson. Serious good vibrations, y'all. What we need. Peace.
So 3 of my favorite people, and Kev and George, and I need you guys to send me some drops. And also, Jen, please send me one so we can kind of roll these up.
I will.
Because these things are so very cool, and it's just I feel so humbled, man, because the respect factor. I'm laughing at what George said. I'll show you guys in a minute. Terry Holler, what up, bro? How you doing, man? I love you. Love you, man. I miss you. I'll see you at the Funketeers Ball. I'll be there. We're going to hang out in the back and crack jokes and take pictures and do what we always do as Funk Brothers. I love that brother right there, man. Certain people, I tell you I love them. It's for a lot of reasons, Kev, and people I know, because I can call these brothers anytime, day and night, or sisters, and talk to them. Namir, you're one, and talk about some serious stuff. And all of these people, when you guys out there hear me say that, they all helped me get through the hard time I was dealing with for 4 or 5 years, and you guys are amazing, and I really appreciate you. But I was saying that back on this side, we're hanging out with Jen Vanderputten, and we've been talking about stories, the art of storytelling throughout history, and societal issues that we have going on today. And I got 2 subjects I want to bring up. Number one, you're a mom, and a wife, and you have your own business and everything. How do you balance everything? I think a lot of women out there and men need to know how you guys balance, because it's hard. So you're my hero of the week.
Oh, gosh.
We do a hero of the week every week. You're my hero because I know what you're balancing. How do you balance?
Yeah, I used to work full time. I actually lost my job because a company was buying the company I was working. Dell was buying EMC. I was working for EMC, and they offered me a package, or they offered me to come back in under some, because they were just getting rid of our department, come back in another job. And I thought for a bit. My youngest son was starting to have some trouble with the school, and I think I've told you that story before. We eventually got him out of that school into a better place, and he's doing great now. But that was a whole struggle, and it was like sometimes these divine interventions I think happen. There was a voice in the back of my head saying, take the package, hang out your own shingle, do part-time, you can do your family, you can. all right, that's what I did. I'm like, I had nothing. I have never been, I'm a software engineer. I'm not a salesperson. Like, how am I going to do the hustle here, you know? But when I left the company, my boss, and I call him my boss and my grand boss, like, you know, every boss is a boss, but I call him boss, grand boss, great grand boss. That's how I call them. They started giving me connections. Oh, so and so's doing a startup over here. And I went for this person and that, and this person. And pretty soon I landed where I am now, where I'm probably working maybe a tenth or a fourth of the time. So like, you know, some small amount of time. Not making the money I used to before, but I have a lot more time for family. My parents who are aging and need more of my help. My kids who, though they're getting older, still need help getting their feet under them because it's harder today to get that start. You know, and to be able to help and support my husband because he's doing the full time that has the benefits, the insurance. That's the big thing in this country, right? Um, so one of us has to have a full-time job, and I'm enjoying being my own business owner. I'm enjoying like I didn't want to have a gap in my resume, so I put this out with the intent that this would just fill the gap. And it's been
Yeah,
growing year over year. And
yeah,
I, you know,
yeah,
just I'm just flowing with the water, flowing, going with the wind on it. And I
yeah,
don't think I ever want to go back to the corporate thing again. Because I just the freedom I have and the ability to follow opportunities where they come, to be able to have a lot more quality time to spend with community, like, you know, with Mia, with you, with community things in general.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, this is when I started really tapping into community and what the struggle I went through you know, those years fighting with the school, getting my son into a place in a situation of safety where he could thrive. There was a lot about like not working full time and being able to have community, find community that really helped me get through that. Um, and so I think a big part of it was finding community. So it's just like you said, finding tribe, finding community, however you want to refer to it. Just finding people in my life, having that emotional support. I didn't always have it. It was like at first it was like I felt deeply alone, but then like when Mia came into my life, it's like it was just instant. Like we just instantly connected and vibed. Like when you and I started, they had that first conversation over the phone. It was just instant vibe. I think we talked for a couple hours and
We
didn't even
did, we
realize.
did. Yeah, it was like 2.5 hours.
It was, and I was like,
Yeah,
wait a minute. I'm looking at the phone. I'm like, I can't be
it
right.
flew by, man. Yeah, because we
We
instantly are
did.
soulmates, and soulmates doesn't always have to be about a lover or a wife. Soulmates are people that
Yeah.
mate because they get it. You know,
Yep.
we vibrate on the same thing because this is all about
Yep.
vibration. But you said something before that I wanted to touch base on. And again, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm gonna show the suicide hotline in a minute. You know,
Hmm.
because this is something that touches me. It touches every single person. I
Hmm.
personally have been through some dark times. Some of those very people
Hmm.
I mentioned helped me get through them, and I don't mind telling you that. I see a therapist. It's okay. There's nothing about
Hmm.
that to be shameful of. So if you're out there, don't be ashamed of that. Go get the help you need. And I lost 5 years ago one person here, and then in New York when I was there, I lost at least 3 or 4 people, and they all figured it was best that their spirit didn't need to be here. And I'm here to tell you, no matter what the darkness makes you think that and trick that, there's a spiritual purpose, like the song Kevin and I wrote, and Jeff Robertson. We wrote a song called Spiritual Purpose. And, you need to be here. I know it's hard. Every test I ever took was hard, but that's what this is. And of course, we all fall short. Human beings are not perfect. We're not designed to
Hmm.
be perfect. We're going to fall short every day. But if you ever get into a spot where you feel you are just so fed up and you're not ready, here is the national hotline. Y'all need to just get on this because we need you. I'm here to tell you I love you. If you're watching this show for the first time and you feel some kind of way, holidays, we all get all messed up about them.
Hmm.
society got us thinking this, because a lot of stuff we manifest ourselves. So it's about a thought process too. But we always got to deal with what's outside of that space. So your thoughts on this stat that I'm about to throw at you. When teenagers check into an emergency room and they're having a mental crisis, a mental issue, emotional crisis, 4,000.5 girls, right?
Mhm.
Compared to 2,000 boys.
Mhm.
Why do you think it's so high in young women? This is important to me. This really like bugs me.
It's the pressure. I think I grew up, and there were maybe some magazines, but it never was like, there wasn't in my face all the time this idea of perfection that you had to be. And that is targeted more to girls than to boys. There's like this narrow definition of what is good or, and it's getting worse. Like we were making, Roe v. Wade got overturned, and we all know it's not going to start there. I mean, stop there. That was just the start. In every area of marginalization and oppression, they're looking to bring back the battle days. Like we talked about that 1%, because that's the control thing. And it's all about control. It's about making these girls think that they're horrible and broken for existing, a lot of times just existing while. And fill in the blank there with just about anything, existing while a woman and fill in the blank spot. They're growing up with the social media too. I didn't have all these, and they got the filters to make you look more perfect. I know there's a lot of young people rebelling against it.
I know, right?
Encourage everybody, just show yourself. It's like
Just
a little
be
makeup. It's
you.
fine. That's fine.
You're
but
beautiful.
you don't need that filter to make you look like an anime character or so perfect. It's just like, people love you. Sadhguru, I think you follow him too, yes?
Always.
He
Big
said,
guy.
if you have great love and joy, people will be attracted to you. They will be attracted to you in all the ways. You will find your physical mate, your soulmates. You will find friends. All kinds of relationships. But it doesn't matter how you look. If you have that joy, but we're not teaching kids that in general. So we're seeing more suicide and mental health go up across all demographics. But the girls, I think there's extra pressure there for. I mean, the images are underweight is what the right weight is. It's like, no, that's not healthy, and what's the right weight for you is not necessarily the right weight for someone else. So someone could be very curvy, and that is perfectly healthy for them. We have to embrace like the beauty of what's in it. The catfishing is real. I gotta repeat though, before we go back, George, I saw your message. Yeah, I got fired from Toyota 3 weeks later. They tried to call you back. Yeah,
that's funny, right?
That
I had
happens.
to put that up there.
Yeah. Teach them, guys. Teach them your value. Walk and show them what they're. They don't know what they got till it's gone.
That's right. And see, here's what I always tell every woman: as much as me and my daughters have butted heads, they know I love them, right? And y'all know that. But I tell them a woman is the most powerful species on the planet because
Sadhguru says.
Oh yes. See, and I just knew this anyway. But me and Sad go way back from other centuries. But only a woman can make a human heart, an eyeball, a finger. She needs man, but she needs that part,
Yeah.
But basically, we don't do that other thing. And I'm telling you, I cut both my daughter's cords. I was very fortunate. I seen God that day, and I said, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, a whole human being.
I said, "Whoa! If this ain't some alien shit right here, I don't know what is."
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it validated all my alien phenomenon stuff. Because I said I am privy to watching something that looks like an ET come out of this beautiful woman. And it's up to me to cut the cord to start life outside of that space that they was in. It was the most profound, to this day, And I done been through 9/11, all that shit. To this day, it was the most profound thing I've ever done. And I'm so blessed and happy God let me do it because it validated a lot of stuff that day. If I had doubt about God, I had no doubt after
Doubts are
that.
gone.
Oh, whoa, there's something, because man can't do this by himself. And see, again, I tell every woman I ever meet, even now, and when I'm doing Uber music, you're the most powerful person. And we have to treat you as such because I don't like that stat that I don't want to see anybody committing suicide. But at the same time, why is it double? It doesn't, it bothered me so much. And I'm going to figure out a way to get a show about that started. Because Nine on the Grind, we're branching out a little bit and we're going to try to do some things. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we just need to, give young people in general, but especially girls, lots of the kind of praise, because I think again, the getting away from extended family, extended community, we have to pull those communities back together. But any chance you get to uplift someone, like that little droplet can turn a crap day into, they're feeling better. They'll go home at night, they'll feel better, they'll go to sleep, they won't lay there crying, because you just did that little bit of, I've been the recipient and the giver, both of those little bits of kindness. One of the things, because my son, and this is my youngest son, and just to let everybody know, he is like an open book, so he lets me talk very openly about his struggles, our struggles together, because it was him and me against the world with his autism and how people misunderstand and mistreat autistic people, and he has been one of the biggest advocates for himself too. But one of the things I had to learn was that I had wrongfully learned, like the schools, and we think, and I don't want any teacher to think I'm knocking on teachers, but there's a culture and that of control, right? And that is a very American thing, a very top-down control. This person has this title next to their name, therefore they can do no wrong. They can never be. We have to pretend, so there's this idea of the authority over, instead of a community and coming to consensus with each other on what's right. And they always want to just control over him. And a lot of times of the things he had no control over, like being overwhelmed by sensory inputs and things like that.
Right.
And so they would punish him for screaming when he got overwhelmed, but he was just in pain. You and I scream when we're in pain. They just didn't understand why he was in pain, but that's just because his experience was different. And at first I was like just doing what the teachers in the school told me to do, but we went to see a psychiatrist, and like you said, therapy, do it, go to the psychiatrist, the psychologist, because she's the one that opened my eyes. And she's like, Jen, this is just about control. So you can smile, nod your head, and just, you don't have to fight with them, but here's what you can do yourself. You don't have to do what they tell you to do. You can do what's right for your kid, and they don't have any real authority over you. This is your child. And this is what you do now it means a lot. She's like, she's the one, and she didn't say it directly like that, but it was like over time, she was very clever. She got me to come to the realization without me even knowing that she did that. And one day I was like, I'm just going to stop trying to have control over the situation and trying to make him, quote unquote, behave right, stop screaming when the lights were too bright or whatever. I'm like, I'm going to help him however I can in these day-to-day things, but first and foremost, I want him to know how much he's loved. So I just started doing, it was so simple, guys. I just said, I'm so lucky to be your mom. And I am. I generally feel that way, but I always thought, that wasn't the high priority thing, getting, so he's not getting in trouble anymore. I was like, that's the high priority. No. When a child feels safe and loved, everything changes from that.
Yeah.
So I would just be telling him, I'm so lucky to be your mom. I'm so glad I get to have you as my son. You are so wonderful. I love any one thing a day. Everybody does at least one great thing a day. Everybody does, but you don't necessarily get noticed. So I would tell him, I love that thing you did there. You showed such kindness. What a kind person you are. And the thing is, the more I put these positive things into his head, the more he became that positive person. You put negative out there, you say, don't, no, don't. If that's the overwhelming message you're sending, the negativity will come right back. That will just that's the seeds, right? The plant and germinate are the seeds of those negativities. It's like I remember there was one little training thing I did I can't remember what it was, but they said for every one critique or bad thing you say, you gotta make sure you say 3 positive things, because that's the cost of that one negative thing. So choose those critiques wisely.
Amen.
And just let the positivity flow. They said minimum 3 things, but the higher that ratio, 5 things to 1, 7 things to 1, things actually start changing for the better. So I think that's what we're not doing. I think, I see so much, like the kids always come home with everything bad that they did that day, or you get the phone call. When have you gotten a phone call from the school saying, really, like on a daily basis, like not for the kids who are like always doing great at everything, but for the kids, regular everyday people, like kids who struggle, how often do you get a phone call saying, oh, he did this kind thing today? All of us need to do more of that, even if
That's
it's just
right.
a little post-it note, a little quick note that gets thrown in the kids' folder on the way home. Loved his kindness today. He helped a friend, whatever. And say that to your kids too. Say that to your spouses. Say that to your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, your uncles, your friends, everyone in your life.
Yeah. That's important, and thank you for sharing that story. That's really a intimate family story, and you've told it before on the show, and we really appreciate it. I think our audience sometimes needs to hear stories of encouragement and positivity. That's why I admire you so much, because you're one of my favorite people, because you're so real with it. And that's what we need more of. That's why I've been blessed to be on this platform. And, I'll tell you some things at the end of the show. We got some things, and I'll let you privy, you guys are watching. I'll turn you all on to some stuff, so we're trying to, branch a little bit. But shifting a little bit, right? I just happened to realize it's been 1 year since the Uvalde shooting, and even though we've had at least 200 since January already, like some astronaut, I don't know, I'm making that up. I don't know. But again, America's like, oh, this isn't a major thing, Now we ain't gonna talk about, the shootings that just happened in Philly or Chicago or DC or New York or New Orleans or Georgia, Atlanta or LA, yesterday. But we're going to go back and still mess with the people that tried to do the best they could under the circumstances. Now, I wasn't there. I'm not a police officer. But I know there's a chain of command. You have to follow orders. And a lot of these police officers now are catching extra flack. But they didn't tell that child, that young man, to do that. And yes, they screwed it up. But at the same time, what else can these people do to make up for it? Because they've done the best. And I feel bad, because nobody wanted that to happen. But again, it's the overall thing that we're missing here. Of course, I want to pay homage to it. I did a little post about it. We did a show about it last year. Matter of fact, George DeFuncovinci was on it because he's in Texas. We actually did a special. Patty Collins came on. George DeFuncovinci was on. I forgot who else popped in, but we actually did a show about that the next day, right? Because it was that important. Yeah, the next day. And it's in the archive. You guys can look it up on YouTube. Because it was very important, and it had touched us. And that's why we do funk, not fight, put the guns down, unite. That's the mantra that I came up with, but it's piggybacking off of what Bootsy and Patty are doing, funk, not fight, around the world, trying to set up centers for people to go. But your thoughts on Uvalde 1 year later?
Yeah, it's a tough. So many key things, signs of our time, all happened in Uvalde at once, didn't it? The violence, the issue of the reaction to it. So many different things were happening there. And a lot of people have said it before, the police are often called in situations where they don't have expertise and or even the right equipment to deal with things, right? Because we have had problems with them shooting when they shouldn't shoot, killing people when they shouldn't kill, or not going in, because like in Uvalde, they say they were afraid of being hurt themselves. Okay, if we really wanted to, we could create protective suits so those guys could walk right through those holes, right? Bullets coming up. We can do anything we put our minds to. We're focusing more on arming more instead of protecting more. We're not focusing enough on why are people falling through the cracks and feeling so desperate and backed in the corner that they feel this is the only way out to be heard, is to go shoot people or whatever, if they are delusional, if it's a mental health issue. And yeah, maybe consequences earlier in life for some people. It's like there's a privilege thing there too. There's a lot of people growing up with privilege who really are used to being able to get away with a lot too. So I think that like most of these shooters can check a lot of privilege boxes, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, right?
Yeah, when I tried to do this, I tried to imagine and put myself back back in like the 30s and 40s, right? Not as a
Mhm.
black man or a white man or anything, just as a human being. And I
Okay.
thought about it. How in the world did we go from you can literally send your kindergarten kid walk to school by himself,
hmm
because we used to do that in a group.
Yep, I did. I was in kindergarten.
Yeah,
I walked
first
by
and second
myself.
kid, we walked.
hmm
We went. Nobody bothered us. The only drill we had to do was put our hands like this in the hallway about the atomic bomb crap. Now, our daughters, your kids, my kids, aunts, everybody out there who got a child or grandchildren, your kids got to do a high room kind of fucking, like every time that, you're doing, you're tested for it or whatever, you're having a drill, you got to
Mhm.
do a fire drill. You got to now do
Do a
where am I
shooter
going to
drill.
hide to keep from getting
They're
shot drill.
doing whole classes where they're just teaching the kids which objects in the classroom will deflect bullets better.
Yo, I seen something.
I can't imagine. Like, that is so alien to me as like when I was growing up. It's like, yeah, like,
And this
I
is the
don't-
thing. This goes back to education. If I'm a child and I already come from the hood, I'm not really going to be afraid of bullets, but I'm going to be afraid of getting shot. But then,
yeah,
right? The thing is, that same child is now in a class and another child is going to come shoot him or her,
right.
right? And you got to like imagine, okay, I'm trying to learn mathematics, algebra, science, how to read and write. And yet, every time a car may backfire, I got to panic and throw off my whole day in school. Or if you went to a school where there was something that happened, now you got to go back to that same school. And every single second, and I don't care what people say, it's human nature, every single second, you're going to be thinking about something like that in that school. Because
Yeah.
that's just
And-
how our brains work.
We didn't have less people with mental health issues. I mean, we have seen mental health issues increase, but mostly in children. And that may be part of it. The anxiety is definitely increasing. A big part of that is what we as adults are doing. We're putting too much pressure on them. I think kids are in school longer now, more hours a day, and then they bring home a lot of homework, which has been shown not to have any kind of benefit at all. We're not letting them run around and be kids. We're not like you said, there's these notions of perfection that are getting harsher and harsher on them, but there's also grown adults going in there and shooting too.
Yeah, it's
And
an
so I think
epidemic.
there's a multitude of things happening. One of the things I think is there's people who are capitalizing on those who feel like they don't have, like you said, don't have a community, don't have a tribe, don't have a group. They're feeling on the outside. And now that we have the online thing, I think this is one of the early comments I made that you picked up on right away, is there are people out there who, for their personal, selfish, nefarious reasons, will take advantage of and manipulate those individuals. And they're like, oh, here's a person who's feeling lost. I'm going to make them feel like they're part of something. And I'm going to tell them, and they tell them how to get the gun, and they tell them what to do. And I think there's a lot of that manipulation going on in chat rooms around that you know, there's a lot of that kind of manipulation going on. And
Yeah,
I think those people, it's easier to get to kids because of that easy communication access now. Because when we were younger, you'd have had to
yeah,
come up to a kid and start talking to him. Somebody to notice and say, "Excuse me, what are you talking about over there to that child? Get out of here," you know? But it's so hard, even as I'm a highly technical, I'm a software engineer, my husband's a software engineer, even we have a hard time keeping everything from our kids. And we're the experts. It's
yeah.
impossible to expect parents to deflect everything in the world. You know, we need to be more open about that, and we need to fight against, you know, the people who are doing that. We need to, you know, shame that kind of behavior. We also need to make kids feel that if they need someone to talk to, like the stranger danger thing they do in school, they need to add, if somebody starts telling you online, if they start telling you to do things, you know, cause violence, please talk to someone, anyone you trust. And it's got to be confidential. That kids got to be able to come and have that confidentiality so that we can catch that before those kids are getting that manipulation.
And I think too, we got to go back into inside the home. Now, accidents have always happened with guns in homes. You just didn't hear
Hmm.
about it as much, you know. But
Yeah, it's not
they've
as
always
sensational.
happened. Yeah,
Hmm.
they've always happened. But the amount of guns we have in this country now, I think, has gone through the roof. Like before, yeah, you had a shotgun in your house, maybe a pistol, a handgun, this and that, or if you were a gun collector or a hunter, you guys, if you're doing the right thing, I got nothing against you, right? Men and women, skeet shooting, whatever, pull, whatever, I don't know,
But you don't
right?
need an AR-15. You
Yeah,
don't need.
exactly. And you don't need to be allowed to buy truckloads
Right,
of ammunition. Why
right.
do you need a a backpack? Like the guy that sold that kid the backpack of ammunition should be put in jail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period.
Hmm.
Period. Because you gotta know, just like the people who taught those people how to fly a plane, but they didn't want to learn how to land. You should be
Right,
put in jail. You took the
exactly.
money under some bullshit pretense, knowing
Yep.
shit was gonna go wrong. To me, that's
Knowing. Yep.
premeditated.
Yep.
There's no
Hmm.
way a kid can say he needs a backpack full of AR-15 clips.
Nobody needs that except the military, you know, and there's a reason they're not allowed to operate within their own borders. There's a reason for that. But you get around that. Now you have ever, you know, and you get, and you notice that some of these guys, they get these fantasies, like Rambo fantasies, right?
Yeah,
And I think, again, part of that is they get lost. All kids at some point in their lives experience that sense that they're all alone in the world. It's part of growing up, it's a big part of adolescence.
yeah,
And the difference maker is whether or not someone is there, and it's parents most of the time, but sometimes it's just a friend of the family. It's an uncle, it's a grandparent, it's somebody in the community. When I was growing up, every, you know, every kid I knew had somebody. They were always like, you know, that they go to. They say I had a grandfather. We talked about everything unvarnished, even when I was young.
yeah.
I always had that person to go to. And he was the kind of guy, he accepted everybody exactly as they were. He might ask you a million questions like, "Okay, why do you do that? Like, why is it like that? You know, tell me." But he wanted to understand your life and your perspective. But he never judged anyone. He was just like, "Okay, you know, you are who you are. That's interesting." And he was a big formative figure in my life. We talked about everything. Um, and I do wonder how many kids have an adult like that in their life. I think they're having conversations with each other or with manipulative adults that we talked about, the people with
Yeah,
nefarious purposes,
yeah, yeah,
because they have no one else to go to, no one healthy and positive. And many of us are so busy, we're not doing this maliciously. It's just we're losing sight. We're losing sight of what it, you and I are now old enough to, we are becoming elders in the community, right?
yes,
And I
exactly.
have been feeling just, it is my job now to make sure I see kids who just need that hug of acceptance during the day, who just need to be told that they're okay. You're okay, and it's going to be okay. And I accept you just as who you are in this moment right now.
Yeah,
I do that whenever I get that opportunity because that's what they need. It can be the difference between them going off the rails or growing up normal.
Yeah. I'm glad you're doing that. And that's like, we can just only plant our little ripples and seeds. Everybody on the chat line, you guys are great, man.
Yep.
Keep planting those ripples and seeds, because together we actually are changing the world in our own way. And even if something may seem like it's not huge, it really is huge to some of these people,
It
Like you said, you
is.
change one life. You never know, 10 years from now, that life could change millions, That's the beauty of being able to navigate this energy and this journey at this time, being a little
And you
wiser
think
as you
it's a
get older.
small thing. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
You think it's a small thing. So I had that happen to me in high school. There was a girl, she was a casual friend. We
Hmm.
used to have this thing called the Breakfast Club. And it was the kids from the juvenile high school. They had a high school. They used to have high schools where you could learn trades. You didn't have to go to college.
Yeah,
And that was
that's right.
important because not everybody wants to do book stuff.
That's
And we
right.
need
That's
plumbers
right.
and electricians and stuff like that, right?
And
Those
wood
are
shop and
great
carpenters.
professions.
Yep.
And just because they can't do the books doesn't mean they're not smart. It's like a
That's
good
right.
plumber is real smart. A good electrician is very
And that's
smart.
where we went wrong in this
Um,
country. We took that out of
yeah,
schools.
yeah. Yeah, it was like, well, everybody's got to have a PhD. It's like, well, then who's going to get things done? We have to value that. But she was sitting there and we were at the Breakfast Club because I used to I'd get rushed to get ready and get to school in the morning because I'm a night owl and not a morning person. And so I'd hit the Breakfast Club because you could buy the kids learning to be chefs and stuff. You could buy so cheap because it was just at cost a cheap breakfast. I could get like a McMuffin, basically the equivalent, and eat it on the way to class and stuff like that. But that morning I actually had a little time and I sat down and I can see her. I can't even remember her name, but I can see her across that table. We're in that corner. And she was just telling me about her struggles. And I just listened in the moment and I didn't try to solve them for her, but I just told her I just said, I'm so sorry you're going through all that. I wish I had an answer, but I don't. But I'm always here if you need to talk to someone. And I think you're great. And I think you're going to do great. I don't think you should listen to all, because I think she's some parents, there's people in her life that would just constantly tell her she was bad, horrible, So there was always something, And I just told her, I think you're great. And I think you're beautiful and lovely. And I think you're going to do fine. That's it. And I thought nothing. It was just a little conversation. A few years later, she told me that she had been contemplating suicide, and that one conversation changed her mind.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know until years later when she told me.
Yeah. See, that right there is powerful. And again, I'm glad you're sharing that story, because we want everybody out there to know, if you feeling some kind of way, no matter when it is, reach out to someone, make an eye care call to someone that you think may be dealing with some stuff. We all deal with stuff on a daily basis. We're all suffering from this thing called PTSD for various reasons. We were suffering from it before, just under stress from the country and the world and the stress we put on ourselves, which is why try not to punch down yourself and try to breathe and breathe your way through things. We're hanging out today, just chilling with Jen Vanderputten. It's been like an amazing journey today. We're closing out our anniversary month. We've had some amazing guests on this whole month. It's been absolutely phenomenal that we actually been able to do this for 3 years. Mark Lee, and I are very, very appreciative and very grateful for people like Jen that come on and, hang out with us and take time out of their lives, And we're getting ready to start something a little bit, where we're going to be branching out with 9 on the Grind TV. And I just put it up there. So you'll be able to see other shows that we're going to start. We already have one, the Dayton Funk Music Radio Scene, the Funk Hall of Fame Exhibition Center, their radio show. We're picking them up, and it starts tomorrow at 3 p.m. on right here, www.youtube.com/9 on the Grind TV. So I'm proud of that. Proud of Mark. Thank you, Mark, for helping me do the production and getting all this stuff tight. And we're launching that tomorrow. So everybody that helped this show along the way, know that your support and help was not in vain. And then we also got something new, that we're going to be bringing Mr. George the Funkavinci is going to start, his own thing on 9 on the Grind TV as well. So, we just want you guys to know that we're working and, we're trying to branch out and give everybody a voice. Jen, I'm going to give you the last word because, you've been an amazing guest and, everything you do is important. And, we just want to make sure that, that because we love you on the show. So we appreciate you sharing your family stories with us. We appreciate you, coming on and spending time, and you have a safe, happy Memorial Day. But I'm going to give you the last word and then we get ready to crank up the car and get out of here.
Then I'm going to send it right back at you, Zach, because without you, a lot of this community wouldn't have come together and wouldn't have found each other, wouldn't have been receiving these messages they needed to receive. So, Zach, we really appreciate you and everything you do to bring people together and to spread the message of peace and love.
That's so kind. It made my day. It really is. It's very, very cool. And again, you guys, to all our veterans, we honor all you guys and girls and your families. And, of course, we lost Tina. So we're going to take you out the same way we took you in. But before I do that, I just want to thank P-Funk Radio, JTRP. I love you, Gabe. On Wednesdays, you're doing your thing. Larry Funkster Jones on Saturdays. Bootsy and Patty Collins, Funk, Not Fight. Put the guns down and unite. A national campaign that my band, the Nappyhead Funk Army, is fully behind. Brenda up in Ohio. I love you, Brenda. HJ Entertainment, Kane and Jams. Tony Cam and the Funk All-Stars. Nappyhead Funk Army. Oak City Music Collective. Diego, stay safe up in New York. Afterglow 92416. Q&A Entertainment. Brooke Clagett, my Funk Angel. I'll see you at the Funketeers Ball. Love Tea XS Energy Drinks. I do need more. I'm running out. So that's one of our sponsors. Patricia Dioria, Aquarius Rising Art, does my graphics, some of the stuff that you see back there, along with Curtis Wilcox, my guy. I call him the boss, and George the Funka Vinci, my other guy. Dr. Bruckensteiner takes care of my website. I love you, David. DJ Coccolino in Italy, the Funk Chronicle Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center, David Webb. Don't forget, you'll hear the radio show from Dayton starting tomorrow at 3:00 p.m. And, of course, all the people on the chat line, Funk from the Front Seat, all the fans that support us, you guys make this show. So thank you. Let's crank it up and get out of here. Same way we came in. Same way we going out.
Since we've been together, loving you forever is all I need.
We love you, Tina. We won't forget.
Be the one you come running to.
All around the world for the flow.
I'll never be untrue.
Y'all stay safe.
Oh, baby, let's stay together. Loving you well.
Now snap your fingers like this if you feel
it. So in love with you, whatever you want to do, it's all right with me. You make me feel so brand new. I want to spend my whole life with you. Let me say the same.
Come from the front seat, y'all.
We've been together.
Get Van de Putten in the house.
Loving you forever. It's all I need.
9 on the Grind TV.
Let me be the one you come running to. I'll never be untrue.
around the world for the funk, y'all. Ken Vanderput was our special guest. Love this woman. Take some of this love with you today. Spread it around, y'all. I know y'all feel it. I can see you feeling it. I can see you. Welcome from the front seat. All day, y'all. Nothing but love, boy.
Why do people break up? Oh, then turn around and wake up. I just can't explain. You never do that to me. I want you, baby, to be around you.
Woman was powerful, y'all.
I see.
Listen to that.
We all stand.
We love your love, Funk from the front seat. What a beautiful show. Again, today our special guest was Jen Vanderputten. And it's just been a blessing. And we're so blessed to be a part of your lives every Saturday for the hour and a half we spend with you. We get ready to get out of here. Y'all take care. Peace.